I do believe it was the last ice age in these parts that took out the woolly mammoths. Interesting story that came out of Michigan here. And actually, they have found over 100 of these mammoths in the state of Michigan in recent years. And of course, we all think of that woolly mammoth, the giant elephant-like creature. And the number that they have found in Michigan, this most recent one was found in a soybean field as a farmer was doing some digging. He thought he came upon a fence post. And if you've seen some of the video and the footage, it's just absolutely incredible, the size of the tusks that they've recovered and part of the animal's skull as well. But I got wondering about mammoths a little closer to our part of the world, so we're going to find out about those numbers in our province with the Royal Saskatchewan Museum's Curator of Vertebrate Palaeontology, Tim Takarik, joins us now on the phone. Morning, Tim.
Good morning.
I'd rather refer to you as Saskatchewan's mammoth hunter. Can we do that?
Oh, sure, amongst other things, yeah.
Have we ever found mammoths any number in our province?
Yes, we have. We found tens of specimens. Usually they're isolated bones. They're isolated teeth or a tusk or a limb bone or something like that. But we do have a partial skeleton from near Kyle, which includes parts of the skull, tusk, legs, and shoulder blade, and a few other bits and stuff like that. So it's in Saskatchewan. They're not unusual, but to find them in a skeleton form, it's a little bit more rare.
What was the world like 12, 15,000 years ago in this part of the world that these animals lived in?
Besides being colder?
Yeah, well, I guess it was colder, huh?
Colder, much more grasses on the plains near the edges of the ice sheets. Would have been not much in the way of forestation or anything like that. Mammoths were grazers. They grazed on primarily grasses and such. So it was rather barren tundra for these animals, and as well as other creatures of that time frame.
When I look at an elephant, say an African elephant these days, size-wise, were they comparable, or were the mammoths even bigger?
They're about 3 meters tall at the shoulder, so over 10 feet tall at the shoulder. So they're quite big. They're closest size-wise to the Asian elephant.
I read an article recently talking about these mammoths in Siberia and parts of northern Russia, and because of the permafrost there, the finds there are in a lot better condition than the skeletal or fossilized, I guess they wouldn't be fossilized remains, but the skeletal remains that we find here in the prairies. And the article said that in parts of Russia, they believe there's millions of these creatures embedded in the permafrost, and guys are hunting them over there for the ivory in their tusks still. That is still something that I guess can be marketed. I'm guessing the condition of them here is a little different.
Yeah, they're not embedded in the permafrost here. Siberia, Alaska, I think even the Yukon have quasi-mummified remains of mammoths, and the trade in ivory tusk, mammoth ivory tusk, goes back well over a century in Siberia. That was hooked up to the Silk Road in Asia, and it's been big money for them.
Yeah.
In that area.
Well, and I know when you hear that, and that was my first thought when I started reading that story, I thought, oh, gee, maybe this would take some of the pressure off the poaching of elephants, but apparently it's a different quality of ivory, so while it is sought after, it's still not quite the same stuff, and so we still see the elephant situation in Africa. When we go back to, say, 12, 15,000 years ago in Saskatchewan, or in this part of the world at least, and thinking of those big hairy mammoths, other creatures that might have existed that don't exist anymore in this part of the world? Like I think of the classic saber-toothed tiger. Would it have been around about that same time?
Not that particular species. The tiger or the cat that was around at this time in this area would have been an American lion, a little bit smaller than the lions we're thinking of, but still extremely ferocious. Camels. Early horses, as well as extinct species of bison. So it was similar, but still the same, a little bit different than what we would see normally in the prairies today.
And we're thinking it was the Ice Age that knocked them out?
Ice Age is the top. There was a major climatic shift that was going on, and the inability for these megafauna, these big mammals, to adapt to the relatively rapid changing environment from glaciation to deglaciation is most likely their culprit.
Interesting stuff, and it's so amazing to think. I think a lot of people just blur it all when they think back all those years, and you think about millions of years ago with the dinosaurs, but something as recent as 12,000 years ago, that's pretty cool to think about those massive animals walking the prairies here in really, as far as the Earth years are concerned, a relatively short time ago.
Yes, I mean, one of the nice and wonderful things that I enjoy working in Saskatchewan is the diversity of fossils and geological history. Within Saskatchewan, we have about 100 million years of almost continuous history of life. Like right now, I'm up in Carrot River, just finishing up a field season, collecting 95-million-year-old fish and sharks. I'm heading back to East End today and working on mammals from about 37 million years ago. So it's never a bore working in Saskatchewan.
And of course, we think of East End, we think of T-Rex down there as well. That's another great find for our province. Boy, it's been a real pleasure talking with you, Tim. Fascinating stuff, and continued good searching then here in Saskatchewan. I appreciate your time.
Thank you very much.
You bet. Tim Takarik with the Royal Saskatchewan Museum. Just a little bit of information regarding mammoths, the woolly mammoths. Of course, this spinning off the story of the find down in Michigan just over the past couple of weeks, but they've been found in these parts as well.